10. Greedy crocodiles in Australia. The world's most dangerous crocodile attack region must be Queensland, Australia. The most recent floods in Queensland serve as the best example of how dangerous the state's waterways are. The story of Lee DePaul, who was attacked by rabid crocodiles and barely survived. It began on a Sunday morning. 18-year-old Lee was with a woman he had been hanging out with the day before near the Johnston River. The girl was just a tourist, a young traveler taking in Australia. He thought if he dove into the crocodile-infested waters he may impress her. He didn't anticipate the big reptile attacking him by leaping out of the water and onto his arm. He did all of this because he was highly attracted to the girl and wanted to impress her. Well, she wasn't. In actuality, she was completely unaware of the attack. She thought he was kidding when he started shouting and flailing in the water. He managed to escape and climb to land before she realized his arm was almost shattered. Absolute nonsense. Lee is expected to fully recover because she arrived at the hospital in time for the necessary repairs. Total healing. However, Queensland is most definitely not the place to jump into arbitrary rivers. Number 9. Several things are well known about Kenya: Mount Safaris, Mount Kilimanjaro, and lethal hyenas who occasionally eat people when they're fast sleeping when hunting for predatory hyenas. Kenya is one of the riskiest countries in devouring humans. 2 kids were killed and several others were hurt by a pack of hyenas just a few years ago. A savage nocturnal attack claimed 6 of their family members. The Kenya Wildlife Service reports that one of the survivors needed to be evacuated to the capital city of Nairobi's closest large hospital. The family was attacked while they slept in their conventional compound, which was referred to locally as a manyatta language. The 2 tiniest kids were taken by the hyenas after they broke into the house and bit them. Number 8. The leopard photo shoot. Undoubtedly among the most dangerous locations being attacked by an animal on its own territory. And reportedly one of the riskiest occasions for a leopard attack is during a photo shoot. People are rarely assaulted by leopards in the wild because of how uncommon they are. They were in a bush. However, at a recent picture session in Germany that was held at a facility for retired show animals, a model was mauled by a furious leopard and left nearly dead. Jessica Lidoff, the model, entered the area for the leopards with the purpose of taking some lovely photos. However, the leopard clearly missed the kind memo since as soon as the woman entered the barrier struck her. Number 7. Sundarbans. The world's most perilous location when India is undoubtedly the country with the most tiger attacks. It is a region in Bangladesh that is known as the Sundarbans. In this utopia of the bush, the tigers killed about 22 people annually between 1947 and 1983. However, prior to then, the courageous locals said that tigers had murdered at least 50 people, or 60 individuals annually. Since tigers have governed the region for thousands of years, this dates back to the beginning of time. The tigers didn't particularly like it when people started to move in. The strong cats would attack wooden boats, raid villages, and devour children. And they would actively pursue hunters and fishers. The Sundarbans persist right now. In the Sundarbans, the world's most hazardous region when India has without a doubt had tiger assaults. The Sundarbans is the name of the region that spans Bangladesh. About 22 people were slain annually by the tigers that lived in this tropical paradise. 1947 and 1983. Prior to that, though, the brave locals said that tigers had murdered at least 50 people, or 60 people annually. This dates back thousands of years because tigers have governed the region for so long. Many years. The tigers weren't too happy. Number 6. Arizona. Swarm of bees. If being swarmed by bees appeals to you, you might want to relocate to Arizona if you get stung to death. For persons with bee allergies, it has turned into one of the world's most hazardous locations. Recent events resulted in the death of one guy and the hospitalization of 2 others after the trio was stung by a swarm of dangerous bees hundreds of times apiece in Tucson. According to the local officials, 3 of them were savagely attacked after numerous attacks. They required emergency medical care. The stinging was as bad as it gets, considering that one of them perished. In actuality, 3 of the firefighters dispatched to investigate the incident also suffered stings numerous occasions and has few times and had to flee. One of the firefighters had to be transported to the hospital after being stung at least 60 times. Hospital. The officials eventually discovered where the irate bees were coming from. Because they murder people, these are often referred to as killer bees. Swarms are often peaceful, but when they become aggressive, people nearly always flee. Always pass away. Number 5. Bears of Nunavut. If you've ever wanted to experience, visit the Canadian territory of Nunavut to avoid being attacked by a polar bear. The world's most hazardous location for polar bear assaults is here. 3 people were hospitalized in 2021 after being ambushed by a lone polar bear. In this far-off place, in the Baffin region, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police reported that all 3 of the victims were gravely despite being hurt. Full recoveries are anticipated. The police were alerted to the event, which took place in the village of Sanirajik. It was necessary to transport 2 of the victims, both ladies, to the closest hospital in Iqaluit, while the 3rd casualty, a guy, needed to be flown because of his precarious condition. Ottawa is thousands of miles away. However, this polar bear attack in the region was far from the first. Attacks are uncommon, according to experts, but tragic encounters are rising. Common. For instance, a polar bear killed Aaron Gibbons in 2018 when he was attempting to safeguard his kids from the ravaging beast. And in the same summer, a polar bear shot and Number 4. A deadly well of water. 2 people just died in Indonesia due to a few snakes dead in the bottom of a well. A terrible disaster struck a small, rural town while 2 locals were attempting to drain a well. Incident took place. The well had an issue since decaying snake remains had contaminated it. For whatever reason, many snakes had entered the well and perished there. With so many dead snakes, it was evident that the water was contaminated, which disturbed the residents. Wasn't the most clean. So, using a rope to rappel down to the bottom, the first villager entered the well. He brought a water pump with him in an effort to drain the well of all its poisonous water. Unfortunately, only a short time later, a deadly well of water. 2 people recently died in Indonesia. 743. Unfortunately, not long after he turned on the water pump, he started to struggle breathing. He lost consciousness before going limp. Uncertain of what was happening, the second villager then entered the well. To protect his neighbor, unfortunately, he ended up collapsing and experiencing breathing problems as well. The water pump was still running and pouring out water when the 2 guys were subsequently discovered. Poisonous vapors. The 2 men's causes of death: the dead snakes or the tainted well water, have no. Number 3. Ocean of the Atlantic. 24 years old was Deborah Scaling Kiley at the time. She embarked on an ocean voyage from Maine to Florida. Sadly, she was traveling through one of the most hazardous oceans, the Atlantic, when it comes to marine predators, locations around the globe. Her sailboat was swallowed up by a tropical storm, which caused it to flip over. Deborah was compelled to watch as her crew members were devoured by voracious Atlantic sharks one by one. Her buddy Meg drew the sharks to them, according to her eyewitness testimony. When the yacht overturned, she had cut her leg, making herself a target for the great white sharks in the area. Sharks flocked after smelling the blood. The 5 accident survivors were able to board a portion of the boat that had become loose, using it to float on. 3 further crew members went into the ocean during the course of the next 5 days and were torn apart from sharks. Deborah was helpless to do anything but cling to the raft and watch as her companions were brutally murdered. Eaten to death. Deborah and the lone other survivor, a man named Brad, finally found. Number 2. Texas as a state. The most deadly state in the United States is Texas. American states in terms of animal assaults. In fact, Texas has been identified as the state with the highest annual number of animal fatalities. Texas has experienced an increase in events between 1990 and 2019, according to statistics from the CDC. Has been 520 animal deaths that have been reported. That equals 26 on average per year. And to make matters worse for Texas, it is not even close to becoming the second deadliest state. Only 299 deaths occurred in California in the previous 20 years. Just about half of the fatalities in Texas were caused by it. Additionally, it stands in sharp contrast to North Dakota, Delaware, and Rhode Island, all of which haven't recorded an animal fatality in 20 years or more. What animals in Texas are killing people, then? Brown bears, snakes, sharks, and alligators are the main threats. Brown bears with territorial behavior are the primary attackers, followed by shark. Number 1. Canadian coyotes. Vancouver, a city in Canada, is now one of the riskiest locations on Earth where you may be attacked by a pack of untamed coyotes. The hazard is particularly present in the well-known Stanley Park, which is situated in the city. Recently, the Ministry of Forests was forced to order the culling of several coyotes that were prowling the park following a string of instances in which people were violently and intentionally these big dogs are hunting. However, there were more than a few incidents, probably like 3 dozen. Because coyote assaults were uncommon until lately, this was quite concerning. The U.S. Humane Society reports that golf balls are responsible for more fatalities each year. Thank you for watching. Please share your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't done so already, subscribe now and check back soon for more fantastic videos. See you again.